Welcome to another Boomer Bust Editorial. I'm your host, Terry, and today talking about the NFL overtime rules and this whole debate that everybody's having. And this is a conversation that has happened many times before, goes way back, as most of us fans will know, that the NFL overtime rules were changed not too long ago to the new style where if you kick a field goal, then the other team gets the ball, but if you score, you win. It used to be you get any points and you win. So this is a conversation that's been had. I stand firmly on one side of this conversation. And it's not that I can't be convinced. I listen to other people's side. But I think right now the talk is, well, why is it the way it is right now? And so I'm not saying my way is the best or anything, but as far as saying why, or how does it make sense? I stand firmly that the current rules work. And even the way that they used to be worked fine for me too. So this all comes off the heels to set the context of the Saints overtime game and the Patriots overtime game for that matter. And so 2 overtime games in the NFL or conference championships. Now people are more so upset about the Chiefs one, of course, because the Chiefs never got the ball on offense and Rams kind of did their job. Now, this is a great juxtaposition because people are like, well, the Chiefs never touched the ball. They didn't have a chance to blah, blah, blah. And the response for me is, so what? The defense didn't do their job. And so people in this fantasy football day and age continue to act like you don't have to play defense. Like defense is optional. This isn't college. This isn't the Big 12. So you have to play defense. And, this is professional football. So to bring your team out and say, well, we couldn't stop them, but we deserve to get a shot at scoring too. Why? If your defense couldn't stop my offense, why does my defense have to come out and prove that they can stop you? You already failed that test. And so I don't want to hear both units played the game. Who cares if your offense didn't get to play? Their defense didn't get to play. You don't see them complaining. Whatever unit goes out there has to play. And you know what I mean? I don't understand this participation type idea where, oh, well, let's make sure everybody gets a turn. Why? You are all on the same team. The offense plays for the Chiefs, so does the defense. And the Chiefs didn't stop the Patriots. It wasn't like, oh, well, that was them. So that doesn't count. No, it does count. That's your team. And so people say, well, it's not fair. You don't know. You didn't get a chance to possess the ball. Guess what? Perfect juxtaposition. Look over at the Saints. And then what they were able to do against Drew Brees. If you do your job, guess what? Your offense gets on the field. And then they have a chance to now win the game. And so just because the defense didn't do their job, it's now like, oh man, these overtime rules suck. But when the Rams did their job, then it was like, oh, okay, nobody's complaining about that. They're complaining about that penalty, but that's a whole nother story. So for me, I don't think it needs to change. I think that if your defense goes out there and can't stop somebody, you deserve to lose. I think that's just an easy concept because you throughout the entire game, when you have to stop somebody, and you don't, you lose the game. That's how that goes. And so I get kind of what people are talking about as far as why is the overtime so different than the actual game. It should just be an extended version of the game. Now, I can get behind that. That I can agree with. What I don't agree with is it needs to be changed because it's not fair. What? They are grown professional football players. You have the same right to stop them as they have to score on you. Do your job. Simple. And so that has been a theme this playoffs, apparently. Do your job. Don't be in those situations. If your defense does their job, then you give the ball back to the offense like the Rams did. If your team does their job in regular time, then you wouldn't even be in overtime. And so I feel the same way with this penalty. Now, the penalty was terrible. So I'm going off a little bit to the Saints penalty. The interference or the misinterference was terrible. Terrible call live. Terrible, even worse in slow motion. However, people have to stop saying the game is over. It would have been a minute 44 first and goal. And the Rams had at least one timeout, I remember. So, is it guaranteed they would have scored a touchdown? Absolutely not. Is it guaranteed that they would have ran all the clock out? No, because of the way the time was left, they would have been able to get that ball back at some point. Would it made it significantly more likely that they would have won? Of course it does. High probability. But don't sit here and say it guarantees it. And the reason I say that is because, as I said with Cody Parkey, one play does not define the game. And it's literally what I said before, both situations. Don't let it come down to the kicker. Don't let it come down to the refs. And so I hear people on ESPN, whatever, saying they're taking it out of the players' hands. The decision is in the refs' hands. They're costing them games. You had 60 minutes to win the game. You allowed them to score. You didn't score as many points as you could. Those are all your problems too. You put yourself in that position. Does not excuse anybody missing kicks. Does not excuse bad flags. But you put yourself in that position. So, and I get it. Some coaches will ride that bandwagon. And the way I coach, the way I was coached, and the way I believe it, no. I'm not going to sit here and tell you we're going to blame it all on that one play, because there's many, many plays throughout the game that could have been the difference. So there we go. But anyway, go to the comment section. Let me know what you think. Do you think the NFL should change the overtime rules? Which way would you prefer? Would you like the college style? Go to the comment section, get the conversation started, spread it around, thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.